One of my favorite places to visit is Boston, Massachusetts. I don't get to get up there often. I try to get up there as much as I can. And when I get to Boston, I always go visit Boston Baptist College and my friend Dave Melton. I love what God is doing there. And I know you're going to be encouraged as you listen to Dave share this great report about Boston Baptist College.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Melton, president of Boston Baptist College, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity, thanks to Randy as our director of communication, and obviously to Tim and all the executive committee. I'm so thankful to have a chance to speak to you as part of our virtual fellowship. I've got such great things to tell you that God is doing in Boston, and certainly not in the easiest of times, but in spite of all that we all know about the last couple of years, we are well on our way in Boston and accomplishing amazing things, and we're most grateful for that. Let me start by talking about the fact that our most recent audit was completed to us in November for the previous fiscal year. And we received our highest rating in our audit in the year, for the fiscal year just completed, that we have received in more than a decade. It's really astounding, given all the challenges and the extra expenses. And we're thankful to God for that, but we're also thankful that God used so many of you, you pastors who led your churches to give, when I know giving was harder maybe than it's ever been. But this year in particular, there were a number of state fellowships that, above and beyond what the individual churches did, were so great to contribute generously. And I'm so afraid I'm going to leave out somebody, but I at least got to give a special shout out to the men in the churches in Nebraska, Oklahoma, Michigan, Texas, and there are some others who stepped up for us at a critical time. And I just want to share with you the joy that together we were able to accomplish something probably that most people thought couldn't happen, but it did happen. And we did this together, and I'm thankful. I also know this wouldn't be possible without my extraordinary business team here in Boston. And I want to tell you that my chief of operations, Randy Ward, is one tough budget guy who is willing to make the hard choices. And, when you're fighting against all of the strong winds that we're fighting against, you got to have a great team, and I'm certainly blessed to have that. And you pastors in your churches in our fellowship, you're absolutely part of that team, and I'm so grateful. More good news came actually at the first part of December when we completed our 10-year review for accreditation. I know this is academic speak, so I can imagine this doesn't sound very exciting, but I want to tell you, as an accredited institution, once every decade, you are forced to go through a very rigorous inspection of all your levels of operation. It's typically about an 18-month process, and it is a nightmare. It's a nightmare for college staff, and we got to do that right on the tail of a COVID year, so it was just particularly challenging for us. What I get the privilege of telling you now is, though, at the completion of all of that we got just a little over a month ago, our college here in Boston, in all aspects of operation, academic and all of the rest, received a review that put us in the top quarter of all institutions anywhere. It's the highest we've ever been evaluated, and that's a credit to all of my teaching team, to our library folks, to our assessment people, to our student life, to our residents, everybody on the Boston team, incredible board of trustees chaired by John Riley. I just couldn't be more grateful and pleased to tell you, as a fellowship, that not only do we have a college in Boston, but everybody else knows that we're really, really good. And the evidence now is just undeniable. It's in print by this peer review of accreditors. And I'm really, really thankful for that. And I'm also thankful that whole process is behind us for a decade. I've observed something in the last couple of years that is to some degree new for us in Boston. We always get some transfer students here. Our curriculum's designed to make it easy because our experience is, out of our churches, we have a lot of young people who may start either in a community college or start doing something else and God really grips their heart and they want to serve him. And Boston is certainly a great place to equip yourself to serve God. But I've noticed in the last couple of years, very dramatically, that we're getting transfers now from some of the blue chip universities around the country, major state research universities. And this semester, we just got our first transfer of all things from West Point. Part of that's because we do have good quality, but there's a lot more going on too. And I'd like to take the last couple minutes I've got to talk with you about what I'm seeing and hopefully to share this vision, which is also a burden that I think we have to bear in our biblical higher education at this point of the 21st century. There's a growing divide between our culture and biblical truth. We all know that. Nowhere is that more evident, though, than in higher education and on secular, and I'm sorry to say, even a lot of historically Christian campuses. You simply cannot even hold the opinion of biblical truth and express it publicly in many cases, in many places. And our young people, our bright young Christian people, are going into these environments, and a lot of them are realizing, this is not what I want. I'm being forced to try to be something I'm not, and I don't ever want to be. And I'm increasingly glad, and I believe this trend is going to continue as long as we keep making our point loud and long, that we have options now for our finest young people, regardless of what field they're interested in. We have the capacity to equip them to serve God in their churches and also to do whatever else vocationally they may need to do that will become their livelihood. We have obviously plenty of students who are studying to be pastors and missionaries and educators. But here in Boston, because of collaborative agreements we have with other universities nearby, our students can prepare for a lot of other professional skills while they're getting the Bible, while they're living in our environment that emphasizes biblical truth and biblical community and commitment to the local church. They can get the best of both worlds. That's just something that's always been the case, but it's certainly the case now. I'll just give you one example that I dealt with this week. We have one of our graduating seniors at Boston Baptist who is now halfway through her MBA in the University of Massachusetts program as part of her Boston Baptist undergraduate degree. And within about a semester after she finishes with us, she's going to have her master's in business administration. These are the kind of options that are available to us that haven't been there in the past, but it's a new day, and it's part of the quality, and it's part of the reason we've got to continue to do what we do. Almost anything that a Christian young person wants to do, we can be an important part of helping them get there at Boston Baptist College. There's another aspect of this too, though, and this is where I want to finish up. The intellectual challenge to the historic Christian gospel is perhaps at a full-bore assault, full frontal assault like we've never seen before in history, at least nothing that I'm aware of. The attack on the credibility of Scripture, the attack on the fact of the canon of the New Testament, what scriptures have been presented to us historically, and for good reason I might add, as the authoritative guide for our lives, is rampant. It is in the popular media, and it absolutely dominates the climate on college campuses. If you send a student to almost any college and they take some kind of literature of the Bible course, which it's apt to be in there somewhere, or anything from early Roman Empire that impacts the rise of Christianity, or anything that talks about ethics, social or otherwise, they're going to get a skewed picture that attacks the very roots of our biblical faith. You know, what Peter said in 1 Peter 3:15 is still true in 2022, that we have to be ready to give an answer for the hope that is in us. And we have to do it with meekness and with fear, with hearts that aren't arrogant. In Boston, we're committed to doing that. We are working on that every single day. And I hope you'll help us meet your young people who are serious about serving God in whatever profession, and let us partner with them to help them to go into their careers, to stay in our churches and lead our churches in whatever role, but to do so with solid biblical mindset based on the careful and skillful use of Scripture. Again, thank you to all of you who mean so much to help us do what we do. Thank you for how you've been by our sides in the toughest of times. And I'm so glad to say that in Boston, all is well, and God is showing himself mighty in our defense. Thanks, everybody. God bless you.